What's good? What's good? I'm back. Yours truly, one and only Paul Pickett Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Pickett, aka Triple P, aka the Common Sense Podcast, your source for music, sports, politics, world events, and much, much more. I'm actually going to start trying to ramp up my content, start trying to bang out a lot more content, and whatnot. Especially since we got the new podcast we also launched with me and four other people from Fayetteville, North Carolina. It's called Live from Vietnam. So check that out. You could YouTube it, Live from Vietnam. And I'm actually gonna start putting that link in the description as well. Today I'm gonna react to a video. It's titled "It's the Scientific Mouthpiece of Tyrants," and this is a the JP the Entertainer video. I think that's his name, JP the Entertainer. And it's about a cat that I used to find very interesting, but now he's coming out taking a stance that totally contradicts everything that's ever came out of his mouth, and that's Neil deGrasse Tyson. Before we get into that, though, I want to give you a word from promopalace.biz.
And promotion? Then look no further than Promo Palace LLC, your one-stop shop for all music promotion services. Services include Spotify playlist pitching, YouTube video promotion, record pool promotion, blog placements, radio airplay promotion, SoundCloud promotion, and much more. With over 2,000 customers and over 10 years of experience in online promotion, Promo Palace LLC is a company you can trust. For more info, please go to promopalace.biz. See you there.
That's right. You heard a beautiful lady. For the online marketing promotion for music product, brand, or service, please go to promopalace.biz. Right now, we got a 15% coupon code off. The last one was Labor Day 2023. If you put that in the checkout, you get 15% off any package on my website. And it also covers any t-shirts as well, because we got the new litter apparel is on my e-commerce store as well. All right, let's get into it. The scientific mouthpiece of the tyrants.
Male and female in this way.
It's extremely weird to split males and females in sports. And it's beautiful to see Neil deGrasse Tyson continuing to dig the hole deeper that he's dug himself in. Welcome back to the JP Reacts channel, my beautiful freedom-loving friend, where we like...
My bad. I said JP the Entertainment. JP Rants. This cat is so hilarious. This cat is hilarious. I just love every video he does, the way he breaks down videos. It's like he talks about serious social issues and topics, but he breaks it down in such a funny manner that it's entertaining, but it's very articulate at the same time. Man, this cat has a really good formula going for him. I don't know if anybody else is really as articulate and funny and entertaining about social issues on YouTube like JP Rants.
Like to call out the lies, hypocrisy, and corruption of tyrants, shine the light of awareness on woke absurdities, and highlight the amazing work of other freedom fighters. Have you ever heard the term useful idiot? It's where people who have a devious agenda, which kind of means it's something that is in their best interest that is going to be at the expense of other people. The tyrants, the elites, detracting from the people to serve their own agenda. Now, a useful idiot is someone that the elites, the globalists, use as a trusted figurehead in order to gain the trust and therefore manipulate the thinking of the people to obedient comply with the agenda of the elites. Neil deGrasse Tyson, my lovely friends, is in fact a useful idiot. He's not a useful idiot because his IQ is like 13, kind of like Joe Biden-esque version of a useful idiot.
Hold up, I gotta stop. He said he's not a useful idiot because his IQ was like 13, like Joe Biden. I'm with him, man, because I heard Neil deGrasse Tyson say some very interesting things, but that's the thing. Some people can say a ton of stuff that makes sense, and then they say one stupid ass, dumbass statement that totally contradicts everything that's ever came out of their mouth before that.
No, Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's a highly intelligent person. He, though, has earned himself a position on the useful idiot Mount Rushmore because he's sold out. Not because he's dumb enough, can't function on his own, doesn't know he's being used. No, he has.
I like that. I like that. He's being honest. He says he's not a useful idiot on the useful idiot of Mount Rushmore's because he's dumb enough to be on that. No, because you completely sold out. You sold out. You conformed for what, Neil deGrasse? Can't even call you Tyson. Because Mike Tyson is ashamed to share the same last name with you today.
Has sold out, and he is absolutely doing the destructive bidding of the tyrants who have this dangerous gender ideology, who are trying to destroy objective truth, reality, and morality. So,
and the biggest part in there is not the morality part. I don't really care about, is it moral to identify as a woman? If you're a man, is it moral to identify as a woman? If you're a woman, is it moral to identify? I care more about the reality part. Is it reality to identify as the opposite sex? No, it's not. I don't really care about the morals part, the morality part of transgenderism and competing in sports, like men compete with women in sports and things of that nature, because that's where they're about to go with it. But all this stems from the transgenderism. I don't really care about the morality part. I care about the reality part. Like I said a trillion times, make believe, made up, imaginary bullshit. Let's keep it moving.
our friend Neil deGrasse Tyson has been on a tear lately, trying to just brainwash people into believing, men should be able to compete in women's sports as long as they say they're a woman. And it's ridiculous to think that there's like distinctions between the genders. It should be a continuum. It's a spectrum. So I want you to believe that because I am a trusted scientist. We haven't seen a scientist do that before, have we? Oh yeah, Fauci did that. So Neil deGrasse Tyson is basically doing that. A couple weeks ago, covered another Neil deGrasse Tyson just ridiculous propaganda campaign. And you can see the thumbnail of that video here. Could he be less scientific? Almost 250,000 views. By the way, shout out. Proof that Obama is gay has 1 million views on it because people are interested.
And you know what? It's crazy is we don't even know if Neil deGrasse Tyson really believes the shit that he's saying. Or if, like he said, because he said propaganda. And every time I hear the word propaganda, I automatically think of Edward Bernays, who the basically the godfather of PR. And PR is just another term, a nicer way to say propaganda.
Interested in that topic. Now, at the time I made that video, I thought this is going to be one and done. Like he said something stupid. Like I know what he's doing. He's the mouthpiece of the tyrants. He's sold out. But
like he's like a college freshman, useful idiot, one and done. Nah, he's stayed the whole 4 years.
Like that's all he's going to say. Like he's clearly discrediting himself when he talks like this. So I'll make one video. But ladies and gentlemen, the plot has thickened. He has doubled down. There's another interview I want to show you some clips from where, what he did a couple weeks ago in that previous reaction video. It's kind of like, hey, hold my beer, past self, I'm going to make myself look even more discredited and more of an idiot because that's my job. I'm a useful idiot. So let's take a look. And by the way, these clips come from an interview that Michael Shermer did with Neil deGrasse Tyson. And they're talking about gender, men and women's sports. And Michael Shermer, you can tell like he thinks with this thing called common sense. And he does acquiesce along the way. He doesn't boldly stand up.
What I say this is? Paul Pickett Podcast, aka Triple P, aka the Common Sense Podcast. Common knowledge, man. We go off of laws of nature, natural law here.
For truth, but he's kind of like, bro, you kind of sound like an idiot there. And then Neil deGrasse Tyson insults him. So let's take a look at some of the highlights.
Where the rubber meets the road is conflicting rights. So I just used a specific example of the female swimmer from Penn State, Leah Thomas,
who inspires me, by the way. Brave.
Who was a male to female trans, who for the first 3 years of college swam on the men's swim team and then identified as a woman, took the year off by the NCAA rules, took the testosterone suppression treatment and so on, and then re-entered and pretty much dominated.
Pretty much dominated. That's an understatement. Leah Thomas was a good swimmer, ladies and gentlemen.
So there, of course, I agree with you on freedoms and liberty and do whatever you want. But where you have conflicting rights is between the right for her to compete as a woman, as she identifies as, against other women, and the right of women to compete against biological women who don't have the same bodies.
Wait a minute.
You know what, man? Really, man, the biggest problem with this shit is we got to stop enabling this shit. I'm not calling no biological man her, and I'm not calling no biological woman him. And I'm not calling no one person them or they. I'm not calling something that's singular plural. Like, we got to stop enabling this bullshit, man.
Women's rights.
And let me stop. When I say we, I mean everybody fucking else except me, because I never enable this shit. Everybody else on this planet except me, because I never enable this shit, and I never will. I'm a laws of nature guy.
I thought, no, we're not doing women's rights. We're doing men's rights over women's rights, as long as those men say they're women. That's what we're doing here, Michael. And Neil agrees with me.
Because once you've gone through puberty, those massive changes have been made. I don't know if you've seen those examples.
Look how mad. Look how Neil's eyebrow, like he's looking down with the eyebrows, looking up. You could tell he's already mad, like he already ready to go in on this.
That I just gave, but he's huge, big shoulders, long arms and legs, and so on.
Pecker.
The changes have already happened. Now the NCAA is saying, well, maybe we should reconsider that rule. About 1 year of
yeah. So you bring up sports.
Yeah. Okay. So Neil, now it's your turn to just violate all your own scientific principles. Please go on.
Very important, because that is a frontier that is still in progress about how they're going to handle this. We can all opine at this point, and I can opine as well.
I feel opined in this moment. I can tell you that.
I can say things like, maybe.
You know what I hate about dudes like Neil deGrasse Tyson right now when I think about just the opine? I don't even know the definition of fucking opine, right? But like people like him, they use all these big words and they try to sound smarter than everybody. But clearly they have this amount of common sense. Zero common sense. And if you have this amount of common sense, zero, I don't care what college degree you got, what book smarts you got, you're dumber than a bag of fucking bricks. Let's keep it moving.
Sports is not genderized, okay? Maybe sports is harmonized. So
what he's starting to speak about is maybe to make scientific progress here, instead of genderizing sports, we harmonize sports, meaning we create categories that are hormonally based instead of gender based, which is brilliant because genders have categorically such different hormonal profiles that like we could replace that genders that are already hormonally categorically different and replace that with just hormonal categories, because it will help accomplish the same thing, only less well.
So you compete in hormone categories.
Oh,
No,
hormone.
you compete in hormone.
Right. Yes.
You hormonize. You like that? See what I did there? I don't have the definitive answer yet, and
Yeah, he's like such a fucking comedian. That was so funny. I mean, I forgot to laugh.
one of these ideas needs to be fully explored for what the consequences are. But holding aside the physical difference between people, which I'll get to in a minute, the post-puberty physical differences in height and hand size and leg size and this sort of thing. So holding that aside for a moment, I can imagine a day where the Olympics is a continuum of hormone ratios, testosterone to estrogen, whatever is the key hormone.
So cool. Instead of men's and women's Olympics, we have the Olympics that are based on a continuum of hormonal profiles. What a great advancement that would be.
And you compete in a hormone category. That's not so weird.
It's a little
wrestled.
weird.
Okay. But
yeah, that just doesn't sound weird at all. You know what it sounds like? Stupid. It sounds dumb.
By the way, does testosterone matter if I give you more testosterone?
When he just said, does testosterone matter? I really want to highlight the brilliance of that question. He's going to expand more in a second. But does testosterone matter as it relates to sports? Of course testosterone doesn't matter, Neil. That's why anti-doping agencies test for elevated levels of testosterone, because it matters so little. They want to make sure that athletes aren't competing with elevated levels of a hormone that doesn't matter. That's why they test for it. It doesn't matter.
Will you become a better...
You see the lack of common sense here, like using all these big words, but zero common sense applied to any of this shit he's talking about.
Olympic gymnast, on the floor exercises, I don't know.
I actually do know, Neil. I appreciate the fact that you don't know. You're very humble to say you don't know if elevated testosterone would help a female gymnast competing on the floor exercise. So it's a sport that, along with coordination and exquisite motor control, it depends on strength and explosiveness for them to move their bodies through time and space. Testosterone is a hormone that increases strength and explosiveness. So does testosterone make a difference in gymnastics? Yes, it does, Neil. And that's
I don't know, because I'm Neil Degrasse Tyson.
That's also why anti-doping agencies drug test gymnasts to make sure they don't have elevated levels of testosterone. You're welcome for that insight, Neil. Obviously, you're a world's top scientist, so they didn't cover one of the most basic hormones in the human body in all your scientific studies. So glad I could help.
There's some things that women do that the men don't do.
Like menstruate and get pregnant?
The men sort of physically can't do. Okay? So we'd have to figure out how to create this continuum. It is a little weird that we split people.
That's interesting. We would have to figure out how to create this continuum, which kind of implies the obvious. It would have to be created because it's not something that exists. It's not something that's true. It's not a biological fact that gender is a continuum. So we'd have to create it. I doubt he knows what he just said.
Pulled by male and female in this way. I'm imagining 100 years from now looking back and saying, do you know, back 100 years ago, they split boys and girls and they couldn't compete. And I was like, that'd just be kind of...
Okay, well, 100 years from now, none of us, nobody, not me, not JP, not Neil, not this bald-headed white dude at the top, will be alive to fucking look back on it, Neil.
Kind of a little weird.
It'd be very weird. I also imagine 100 years from now, the opposite scenario, where more enlightened people are looking back on us today being confused about gender and thinking we can just change our gender by changing our mind and believing there's 73 genders. I imagine a reality where people look back and say, that's weird.
I don't know, Neil, because
Now, really important scientific phenomenon that I want you to see. Michael Shermer, he's going to come from a place of truth. He's super polite with Neil deGrasse Tyson. So he's going to push back on him just with common sense. And here's the scientific phenomenon to watch. Watch how Neil deGrasse Tyson simply insults him. Because Michael Shermer points out something, it's logical, it's based on truth. And Neil deGrasse Tyson, here as he's leaving his scientific principles and going into the land of propaganda where he's just like, hey, I'm a useful idiot propagating this narrative that has no scientific basis. Neil deGrasse Tyson doesn't have a logical argument for what Michael Shermer is going to say because there is not a logical argument. So Neil deGrasse Tyson does what any good activist does. He simply insults him.
I can imagine thinking how weird that is.
I can imagine that too. But the differences are so massive. On average, again, I've seen the pictures of you as a
which, by the way, his other strategy is just try to interrupt the hell out of someone raising a good point.
College wrestler.
Listen to me.
But the
Yes,
average woman is not going to be able to take the average woman wrestler is not going to be able to take down you when you were in your
coming.
maybe the
Michael,
best female.
You sound like you're an old man on the porch in a rocking chair right now.
Wow. You're an old man on the porch in a rocking chair right now. That's his way of saying
Really?
You're an idiot for saying that thing that's true that my irrational propaganda can't defend logically. So I'll just insult you. It's great. It's great. Man of science right there, ladies and gentlemen. And then this part is just something I like.
We could do whatever you want, but when there's conflict, that's where the rubber.
Right. So
Stress, he's rubbing his eyes, his face. That's a stress response. And it's kind of lie detector sort of.
And that's what these people do that are pushing this bullshit false narrative that if we don't conform to believing a person who thinks a man who thinks they're a woman is a woman and a woman who thinks they're a man is a man, then we're the old man on the lawn because we won't conform to make believe fairy tales, made up, imaginary bullshit.
Thing, body language experts kind of thing. When someone's telling a lie, they're inherently in a place of stress. They're having to make things up in a way that are in line with the other BS they made up. Now, telling the truth, it's not stressful because you don't have to create anything. You don't have to think about anything. You don't have to line up the dots to cover the misconceptions or manipulations that you've already expressed. But the guy looks stressed and he's going to say something very profound.
again, I'm sort of making this up as I go along.
We can tell you're making this up as you go along, Neil. But trust the science. He is a man of science. He knows more than you. He knows more than I do. We should stop belittling ourselves with our own critical thinking and thinking that we could possibly be right when a man of science, an astrophysicist, is telling us what's true. Even though it doesn't make any sense. And he says it should just be automatically believed. Because if you're not believing it, guess what? You're just an old man on a porch in a rocking chair. That's all you are. Thank you for talking down to us, Neil deGrasse Tyson. I appreciate these new scientific revelations that you're enlightening us with. So, dear friend,
yeah, thank you, Neil.
freedom lover, I appreciate you taking a look at this ridiculous.
Yeah, that was hilarious. This is why I love this cat, JP. Not only did he articulate and make more sense than Neil deGrasse Tyson did, who's an astrophysicist. Yeah, he's a fucking moron. Neil deGrasse Tyson's a fucking moron. As soon as you believe in make believe, all that real science shit you talk, it goes out the fucking window. It goes out the window. And you know what's crazy? I thought Neil deGrasse Tyson, like I thought he said something very interesting about like the Columbus, like mainstreaming, finding America. Cause we know Columbus wasn't the first person to come to America. We know Vikings probably came here before. We know Native Americans migrated through the ice ages, um, apparently, and then got trapped over here when the ice age ended and all the ice melted and they couldn't get back over the Bering Strait. We know Africans came over here. Like what Africans that didn't have boats? We know they came over here as well. So there was a lot of people that probably came over here, but they never mainstreamed it. And so I thought it was interesting how his analogy about Christopher Columbus mainstreaming it, where one side of the world doesn't know that there's people on the other side of the world because people only knew what was right where they were at. For a long time, they thought the Earth was flat. They thought they was going to sell off the end of the planet, all types of stuff. They thought Christopher Columbus was going to sell off the end of the Earth, and he, was trying to find India, which is on the whole other side, fucking, you know, planet and shit. But yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson, it's like he's another one of those cats that says some shit that sounded interesting, sound like it makes sense, and then you take this one stance that basically contradicts everything that's ever came out of your fucking mouth. So yeah, I agree with the scientific mouthpiece of tyrants. Shout out to JP. I need to react to more JP joints. He's so fucking hilarious, man. He is funny as hell. Once again, thank y'all for tuning in, Paul Pickett Podcast, and I'm out.